Band. Wow, good morning. Happy Easter. This is such a special day. So welcome back, everybody. Wow. You know, not only is it Easter, but we're doing our first live broadcast. It is the first time we've actually had a service in our own building in a year and a half. Yeah, so here we are. So let's just take a deep breath and take it all in. I mean, this is a momentous, historical moment. Yeah. So I want to just take a moment to reintroduce you to the band. I got Jeff English over here on keyboard. He's our music director. We got John Luce. Don Sarah's in today. Raz is on the drums. And Steve, our other drummer, is out there playing with the soundboard. And back in the tech booth, we have Michael Darnell, who is our new AV guy. And Bill's around here someplace. And joining me today on platform is Greg Denning. And our soloist today is Winalee Zeeb. So we have a great team with you here. We're practicing safety in all kinds of measures. We're staying distance when we're down on the floor talking to each other. We have our mask on, so just so you know. Now, I'm going to invite you to affirm a simple prayer this morning. We rise together. Let's affirm that. We rise together. Yes. We may have changed locations, but our mission remains the same. To spiritually awaken to our oneness with God, each other, and all creation. And we hold to that vision of seeing a world powerfully transformed through a growing movement of a shared spiritual awakening. And the shared part is what's so important. It's not like there is a right and perfect path. We have to guess the right answer. It's about really being authentic to ourselves and our own soul journey. So I'm going to begin with an ecumenical prayer this morning. The enlightenment of the Buddha shines within us. The compassion of the Christ moves through us. The power of Jehovah strengthens and guards us. The presence of Allah surrounds and guides us. Wherever we are, the Tao is, and all is God. So we are still practicing distancing here. So it's a little time for a little self-love or havening if you would need to give yourself some comfort. And we're going to work together to find some new ways of hugging when we do get together in person so that everybody remains safe and comfortable. So we just breathe in that love, and what a good thing to love up ourselves anyway. We can't love ourselves, how can we love others? Okay. And it's the first Sunday in April, so happy birthdays. And I have to apologize. I didn't get the cards in the mail because I thought we might be in person, but they'll go out this week. So we're just going to sing to you, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, you're wonderful. Happy birthday to you. You've got a great year ahead. I'm going to turn this over to Greg Denning now as we share our daily word and core values and announcements.
Thank you, Reverend Sharon. Today's daily word is arise. Inspired by a story in the Gospel of Mark, do not be alarmed. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He has been raised. He is not here. In Mark's Gospel, the women who come to anoint Jesus' body on Easter morning flee in terror when, after finding the tomb empty, they are told Jesus has been raised. Stories from early Christian communities describe a transformation from fear to faith as Jesus' early followers come to realize that not even death can hold the Christ Spirit captive. With joyous faith, Jesus' followers greet one another, declaring, "He is risen," and affirming, "He is risen indeed." Letting go of fear, we say yes to our resurrection experience. Guided by the resurrecting power of the Christ Spirit within us, we are set free from the tomb of lack and limitation. Today, we arise into the light of a new awareness, a new dimension of life. The Christ is risen in me. And each month, we highlight and focus on one of our ministry's core values. This month, it is appropriate that the core value we are focusing on is spiritual awakening. As we complete our 64 days of the season of nonviolence, we understand more than ever before that nothing is more important or more promising for human beings and all of humanity than embracing our diversity and understanding our oneness. We commit to peaceful interactions with ourselves and peaceful interactions with others as a way to enhance our spiritual growth. The spiritual tools we learn and put into practice help us to embrace the divine as the essence of our own being. We explore new ways of expressing the truth of our being, an expression of loving spirit here on earth. We express our spiritual nature through positive relationships with others and in service to the movement of a shared spiritual awakening. And we seek to experience and live from a state of conscious oneness with God, each other, and all creation. And we would do an affirmation together, but you can think it with me. We seek to experience and live from a state of conscious oneness with God, each other, and all creation. And today we are coming to you by live streaming from our new sanctuary on Washington Road. It's amazing. We are waiting for two things to happen before we gather again in person. First, we want to see several weeks of declining COVID rates in our area. And second, we need to complete work to bring us into compliance with safety codes so that we can get an occupancy permit from the Delhi Township. So for the present time, we are still offering gatherings on Zoom. Mondays at 1:30, we have a course of love with Lucille Olson. Wednesdays at 6 p.m. is our prayer circle. And Thursdays at 7 p.m. is a course of love with Dan and Carol Maynard. And Monday through Fridays, the Zoom room is open for Conversation Cafe, an informal time to see some other faces and talk about whatever comes up. The Zoom link can be found at the USCL Facebook page or contact the church office. If you have prayer requests, you can place them on our website, email the church office, or put them in our Wednesday night prayer service.
Okay, thank you. You know, I have never appreciated my ears as much as I do these days. Today, it holds my microphone, it holds my glasses, and it holds my mask. I mean, what would we do without ears, those things we take for granted? I'm just going to take a moment now to go into prayer for blessing those many things that we bless. So we're going to begin by blessing our neighbors, knowing that that includes those close to us physically and those places around the world that we don't even know. We pray with understanding and compassion in our hearts, knowing the divine light always shines even in the darkest moments. As we move through this pandemic, we bless our medical community. We bless our essential workers. We bless each and every one who's so devoted to serving others in times of need. We bless those in grief, whatever their loss, knowing that God is their strength. Collectively, we lift our gaze to remember our unity. Centered in God's divine presence within, we know the truth for each person in our neighborhood, this planet. We are guided by wisdom, arising in love as we act in ways that foster peace and wholeness for all. And we continue with our prayer with Blessing Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing. which is you and me collectively. We bless Unity Spiritual of Lansing as it embraces its journey of spiritual growth. We bless the time that we have spent in the tomb of darkness. We give thanks for the sunrise, for the light. We give thanks for each door that appeared closed to us, only to redirect our attention to the doors that were open to us. We are right now living as a greater expression of love, a force for good in our neighborhood and in the lives of ourselves and others. We are receptive to the handprint of God guiding us to a greater blessing, a field of unlimited possibilities, a stone rolled away to open us to the light, collectively and individually. And so it is. Allah, Shalom, Amen, Namaste. And in our laptop services, at this point we'd have a God bucket. I'm going to invite Winalee to come up for me for a minute, because I brought the God bucket here. And you know what? It doesn't fit this week, but would you come up here with me for a minute? For 52 weeks, Winalee has joined with me every week. And so in my God bucket this week, I just brought you some Brian Andreas prints to kind of commemorate the journey that we've had together through exploring racism, exploring our spirituality, exploring how to work technology, and all those things. So I wanted to gift those to you for being a big part of my God bucket through this whole last year. So thank you. Hug, hug. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you to get us going with some music for the day. I'm going to move my stand out of the way here as I... Oh, good. Okay. Well, you're fine. I can move those down below for you if you'd like. And I'll get away so you can take your mask off.
Thank you, Reverend Sharon. Oh, my heart's touched and I have a little salt water in my eyes. Perfect for the land of Aloha. This song is written by Faith Rivera. It's on her most recent album called Rise, and the song is called Rise. It speaks to my heart, and I wore my mask that says Aloha is love for Faith and her band and the land of Aloha. Also in honor of that, I take my shoes off and I welcome you to at home and sense your feet on the earth. Rise. I close my eyes, I open my heart, I take a deep breath and let the healing start. I lift my hands, I plant my feet, I let love in, I feel the beat that's calling us to rise. Rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. I root my soul, I clear my mind. I'm here and now, in present time. I feel the power of 1,000 suns lighting up the dark. Oh, we rise as one. Oh, rise. Oh, rise. Spirit, rise up. Rise in me. Oh, rise. Come on and rise. Spirit, rise up. Rise your name. Love's calling. That's why we came. Love's calling, calling out your name. Love's calling. Oh, that's why we came. Yeah, it's calling us to rise. Oh, rise. Spirit, rise up. Rise in me. Oh, rise. Come on and rise. Spirit, rise up. Rise in me. Rise up, rise up. Come on and rise up, rise up. Come on and rise up, oh yeah, oh yeah. Come on, let's rise up, oh. Come on, let's rise up, Come on and rise up, oh, oh. Rise up. Oh, rise.
Whoa. I'm rising up. Could you feel everybody standing up at home, just dancing with you and moving along? It's amazing what we can see from here. You don't think we can see at home, but yeah, I can see them, yeah. Easter, we rise up. You know, this holiday is about a celebration of life. There's the whole idea of a new day. And I love it that we're in sync with nature. It's not that nature's in sync with us. We're in sync with nature because nature is rising again. I look out behind me here and this willow that was so barren all winter is starting to burst forth with green. It's just feeling so alive and moving. And the daffodils are up out front. And the creatures out here, they're all coming alive. They're more and more frequently out there saying hello to us. You know, it feels so good to be in sync with nature and all that. So the Easter tradition, of course, it started well before Jesus' resurrection story. It goes back to pagan times, celebrating this rebirth. What feels dormant and dead, there's still the essence of life in it that comes back. And that's what we're celebrating and acknowledging today. And I think for us here at Unity Spiritual Center of Lansing, it's especially symbolic this year. And I will say, as we wait for our occupancy permit, we haven't totally rolled away the stone from the tomb, but we see the light. We're beginning to enter the darkness of a very long period here. As I was going through some of the Easter stories, there's some wonderful traditional stories that have started because the story is so big about how life always returns that we're always creating stories to try to tell the truth. It's not necessarily that they're historical, but they're representative of the importance. And there's several stories about Mary Magdalene following their first Easter, and whether it's with going to Tiberius, the Caesar in Rome, or talking to some people, and she goes up with this white egg, and in the miracle of rebirth in her hands, the egg turns red. And of course, we kind of celebrate that every year. That's, in coloring eggs. This is a wonderful tradition. And of course, red is symbolic of life. And I just know, I can feel it here at Unity, how we're in that process of bringing us back to full life, of fully open doors, of fully open celebrations. Actually, the whole world's at this point right now as we recover from this world pandemic, creating a new normal. So Easter, metaphysically, is about us finding an alignment with our human nature and our divine nature. And the whole symbol of an empty tomb, an open tomb, reminds us of our ability to remove blocks to any process that we might be going through. Easter's about overcoming our error thinking of limitation. All those times he told us we couldn't, or it seemed impossible. and about stepping into that co-creative divinity within each and every one of us. And on Easter, I just remember the words attributed to Jesus that always lift me up. And it says, I came that you might have life and have it more abundantly. Not more stingily, not maybe down the road, but have it right now, more abundantly, having the joy and the peace and the breath, just all that goes with having an abundant life. Charles Fillmore, who's one of the co-founders of Unity, at age 94, he wrote, I fairly sizzle with zeal and enthusiasm as I spring forth to do those things that ought to be done by me. And that's one of my goals, that at 94, I shall spring forth. But I take this as one of three messages that I'm thinking about at Easter this year, that no matter what the age, what the date, it's never too late. It's never too late. You know, there was a man down in Louisville, and he had this great recipe for fried chicken. And he kept trying to get somebody interested in it to do something with it. And he was turned down 1,000 times until at the age of 65, a fried chicken chain was born, Colonel Harlan Sanders. At 65, that's when he became a success. He never too late. And there's this dancer by the name of Sharon, S-H-A-R-I-N. She began ballet. If any of you do ballet, you know that most ballet people start like at 3 and 4 to keep limber and all that. She began ballet at 74, and she hasn't stopped dancing. In fact, she was named in the Guinness Book of Records as the oldest professional dancer at 71. She did this show, and I think she went on dancing after that too. So, and then there's an Aristida Gearston, I'm probably saying that wrong. She, at age 100, became the oldest tandem parachute jumper. I do not know if she did it again, but I do know that she did it. And here's a vision for you. Picture a man, mid-60s. His body is riddled with arthritis. He's just in a lot of pain. He has emphysema, he has trouble breathing, he has heart disease. This man's name was Frank White. And at 65, with all these life-limiting conditions, he turned to yoga. He learned yoga, and he became a master yoga teacher. He lived to be 85, in spite of all that was going on that said he shouldn't do that, as he really invigorated his own body, and then helped others to reinvigorate their life and health. So, Easter message number 1 for today, it is never too late. No matter what's going on or what it looks like, it's never too late. Charles Fillmore, in his book, The Atom-Smashing Power of the Mind, which is a fabulous book if you haven't read it, when talking about the resurrection, he said, the resurrection of the body has nothing whatever to do with death, except that we may resurrect ourselves from every dead condition into which our sense ignorance has plunged us. Our sense ignorance has plunged us. So we resurrect from those limiting thoughts, those limiting ideas. And you know, Unity Spiritual Center is 87 years old. Yeah. And it's amazing, we have survived multiple splits within the community and multiple mergers back together. We've survived, I know at least one death of a minister. We have survived 12 moves since 1934, 12 times. And more recently, we survived a devastating fire, and we are rising like a phoenix into something we're becoming. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but we're becoming it, and we are doing it collectively. Then I think, what about you? What are your passions, your gifts? What is the potential in you that is yet to be realized, that it's time for it to be resurrected from those misconceptions of being limited? On this Easter day, I invite you that instead of looking back with regret, things you haven't done, realize that right now it is never too late to discover your full potential. Right now, there is nothing stopping you. Okay, so if it's never too late, the second message I want to give you is it's never too soon. It's never too soon. At 14, Adam Lorentz was the youngest composer of a musical. It was called Star of the King, and it was performed professionally in Hungary, a 14-year-old composer. And there's another young man, Tom Hayes, who became the youngest to ski on all 7 continents. At 4, he started in Vermont, and he finished at the age of 13 in Japan. Wow, you're never too young, right? And there's a Phoenix Trinity Prego that in 2006 had a formal art show down in Florida, and they even had an auction of her first works. You know how old she was? 2. 2. And I know there are people out there right now that could tell me amazing stories of their grandchildren and their children and the amazing things they do. You know, it's never too soon for us to discover our potential. You know, right now is the time, no matter what our age on this. I loved it this morning at our sunrise service. We had 3-month-old Corbin, and then we had prenatal Casey's baby. And it was just all this, not too late for them to be there in the meditation, to sing and reach into their full potential. So Charles Fillmore, again, in this atom-smashing power of the mind, because we are just so connected with that powerful energy to imagine and co-create. He said, resurrection is rising into a new vigor, a new prosperity, a restoration to a higher state. You know, as we come out of this world pandemic, it's not that we want to go back to the way things were. We are moving into something new. Our values have changed. The important things now are really the important things in our life. We've had a whole big shift on this about what's important. That vigor to arise into a new state, Well, you know, here we are. We're pretty young in this new building. We're about 2.5 months into this new location, waiting for our doors to open. And ideas are forming. I keep calling this place, this is like a pit of potentiality. Everybody keeps having these ideas. It just ignites the imagination of what can be done here. We're thinking about how can we be a force for good in our new neighborhood? How can we create community? How can we be eco-friendly? In fact, just this last week, we joined the Michigan Interfaith Power in Light. We're very conscious of the things that we do in our building and on our beautiful grounds here to support our wildlife and just all forms of nature out there. And another thing that's in the works right now is we're planning some training on compassionate communication, nonviolent communication, so that as we come back together as a community, we can be the strongest, most authentic, and most open community that we can imagine. So things are being done. It's not about waiting until the doors open. It's always about being, not about waiting, always about being. It's never too early to discover what it is that's our inner potential or our community's potential. Which brings me up to the third message for Easter. It's never too late and it's never too early. Well, it leaves us with only one thing. The time is now. This is the time to do things. You know, Easter is not a date on a calendar, the true meaning of Easter. It's like that old bumper sticker I'm sure a lot of us had. You know, today is the first day of the rest of your life. It's always the first day. We're always sitting on that verge of potential. But potential unrealized is nothing. We need to step into it and give it form. If you think about it, we are each extraordinary. We are unique. And what we have to share, only we can share. No one else smiles like you. No one else hugs like you. No one else even prays like you. There's something that is yours and yours alone to do. Nobody else can do it. Nobody in the whole world. You are that unique expression. But the trick is you have to do it. You can't just think about it. Wouldn't that be a wonderful idea? The Charles Fillmore, as he continued talking about the resurrection, said, right now the resurrection work is going on. Right now, stuff is happening, right? And men and women are awakening to the new consciousness of life, understanding, and bodily perfection. That this resurrection work must extend to every member of the human race. Whether he's what we call alive, or as Jesus said, of the dead, whether he sleeps, all must be awakened and unified in body and soul. So we each continue doing our own work of spiritual awakening. We each continue to listening to that still small voice inside, and we each continue to do the work that is ours to do, springing forth with zeal and excitement, no matter what our age. There are some red flags along this that do come up when we get so enthusiastically resurrected into our next stage. We have this, some of you, anybody have that self-talk that says, who are you kidding? You can't do that. Who do you think you are? You don't have what it takes. Well, you know, you get to turn off your own self-tapes. You're the one running the recorder and stop listening to them. And I also think, you know, if we try something, what's the worst that could happen? You either succeed or you learn. It's never a failure, right? Then, of course, if you don't have the negative self-talk and you share this brilliant, exciting idea, there are those wonderfully supportive people that don't want you to get hurt, that might come up about, oh, yeah, you won't believe the great thought I have. We're going to do this. And they go, oh, but have you ever thought about, have you ever considered this? I mean, this could happen. Think you can make a living doing that? Kind of reminds me of Shark Tank. Have you ever watched that? These people come in, they've invested everything, their time, their energy, their finances, and sometimes other people buy into it, and other times they don't see the vision at all. But the real entrepreneurs, they hold on to that idea no matter what those other voices say, because they have to live through it. Whether it's going to be a success or a learning process, they are still committed to it because they're responding to that core resurrection idea in them. When you think about it, no matter what anybody else says, it's none of their business. It's always between ourselves and spirit. It's a very private, individual thing that we get to bring out into our world. Remember, we either succeed or we learn. There's never really any failure. And there's kind of the third red flag that sometimes comes up is a paralysis of analysis. You know, maybe we've learned a lot before, so this time we're going to make sure we got everything covered. We got a great plan, and then we keep planning and planning and planning and planning, and it never gets done. And as you know, we've moved into the new building, and I think about the things we've learned since we got in here, how to operate the building, the furnaces, all the things that we have to do to meet code. And quite frankly, if I had known all this before we purchased the building, I probably would have been scared out of my shoes. It would have seemed overwhelming. And I love it that, you know, if we get into what it is we're supposed to do, it's like you get revealed to you at what you can handle at the time, you know? Never too much, just what you need to know at the time until you take the next step forward. You're never in it alone, but sometimes our human limitations, red flags, kind of step in. And if it does, we never get anywhere. We just would have held back again when this great miracle was presented to us as a community. You know, in Ecclesiastes, there's that scripture verse most people know, that there's a time for every season. And there's a time for planning, and a time for action. And it's really about moving our step. As soon as moving our feet, as soon as we take one step in that direction of where it is that we want to go, amazing things happen. Things show up, people show up, doors open that we didn't even know were there. There is this incredible supportive, creative power within the universe if we just move in that direction of our purpose, that energetic purpose, that soul purpose. So it's always about go for it. We either succeed or we learn. And just to sum up, I want to share a story, Unity's poet laureate, James Philip Freeman. He lived down near Unity Village, down in Missouri, which is a strange weather kind of place. They switch quite a bit. Anyway, on his backyard, he put a couple little lily ponds. He built them, little covers in it, and you know, he got the plants, and he bought a bunch of goldfish. You don't want to invest too much in those outdoor ponds. You know, he could be feeding the raccoons. Well, towards the end of the summer, his dogs got into the pond, as dogs will, and they scratched up the liners, and all the water kind of went out. So as the water seeping out, he decided, well, he gave the fish away, kind of cleaned them up, and he figured he'd take it next spring. So, you know, it's about March down there, and in Missouri, by this time, you've had some rain, you've had some freezing. Of course, all winter, the snow comes down, and then it melts, and then it freezes, and then it melts, and then you get some rain, and it's just kind of that mishmash of things. And sometimes those leaky ponds were full, and sometimes they were empty. And he went out this spring day because he's going to measure them so he can get new liners and start again this spring. And as he looked down to the one pond, there's a goldfish lying there. After all this time, it's been like months of this going back and forth. And he looked at it, and all of a sudden, he thought, that's alive. And he ran to the house and got a glass of water and put the goldfish in it, and it gulped. It started a movement. And so he put it into a bigger bowl that he had in the house, and he noticed that one of its fins was damaged, and there was a little damage on the back end towards the tail fin. But day by day, that fish grew stronger and stronger. And it started just swimming back and forth, flitting back and forth in the bowl, like, I'm alive and I'm going to live it. He just would not, this fish was just enthusiastic, multiplied. And then when he got the ponds up and he put that goldfish back into the pond, this fish did nothing but swim. I mean, he just exuded the joy of life, the joy of living. And Jimmy used to think about this. Like, what was it that caused him to go outside that day, to look down and see that fish? Because probably would have only been, I don't know, a couple more minutes before that fish had just absolutely had its last breath. And Jimmy said that I always believe I went out that pond because the fish had to live. The fish had the livingness of life in it. And so too is it with you and I. We all have that livingness of life. We're linked to one another. And so many times we answer a call that we haven't even heard. We haven't heard the voice. But there's something we respond to, something within our heart. We know that we've been summoned to do this thing, that we are the one that needs to do it. And when we respond, the universe responds to us. You know, we have powers that we never even thought were there, ways of overcoming that we didn't realize we had the skills to do. Yeah. So Easter, the day of resurrection, new beginnings, potential to align your human nature to your divine nature. It's up to you, and you, and you. And like that little goldfish, the universe responds to us with powers we could not think were there, in ways we had no forethought of bringing help we did not know would come. We rise again together. Thank you. We're going to go into a time of meditation now. I'm going to give you an Easter prayer, and then we're going to begin the deeper meditation with Winalee, who has this wonderful prayer dance. It makes me cry every time I see it. And so after the prayer, I'm going to invite you to stay open-eyed as you move into this deeper connection with Spirit. So my prayer for you this Easter, may you die to your limitations and resurrect the livingness of life in you. May you be the helping hand that answers when no call is made, the response when there is no summon, the strength that rolls away the stone, the light that brightens the dark. May you be Mary's red egg.
And grace, welcome joy, satisfaction, pleasure and strength. Welcome essence, beauty, presence, time, spirit, form, excellence in every blessing, sacred and praise. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. Ooh, welcome magic and wonder, brilliance and grace. Welcome joy, satisfaction, pleasure and strain. Welcome essence, beauty, presence, time, spirit, form and space. Welcome excellence in every blessing, sacred and praise. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. What I wanna be, I am. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. I am the seed, I am the tree. I am the flower, I am the bee. I am fire and I am wind. I accept love and also I give. I am loud and I am mighty. I am silent and I tread lightly. I am brave and monumental. I am modest, I am gentle. I am student and I teach. I am the sand and I am the beach. I am ease and I am power. I am bridge and I am tower. I am peace and I am wild. I am mother, I am child. I am many, I am few. I am God and God is you. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am. What I seek, I have. What I wanna know, I understand. All I wish I could, I can. Who I wanna be, I am.
I am. I invite you to close your eyes if it's comfortable for you, and to allow yourself to move into that word, the I am. The I am isness of you. The deep cleansing breath. We feel ourselves breathe out through the soles of our feet as we connect to the richness of the earth. The solidity that supports us unwaveringly, no matter where we walk. Take another breath and feel it move through the water within our bodies, water connected to the water on this planet, always in an interchange, always dancing that movement of oneness. As we take another deep breath, we connect with the air we breathe in, the air we exhale. Gentle, deep, livingness itself. And with our next breath, we connect with that concept of fire, the holiness of spirit that quickens our minds, our hearts, the creative nature at the core of our being. We are one with all that is. Consider the I amness of you in the silence. Still small voice within you whispers, I am. As each of us awakens just a little bit more to the divine dance between our human nature and our divine nature, we step forth into this Easter experience, resurrected, rejuvenated, reinvigorated to the livingness of life. And so it is. Amen. Thank you. Turn this over to Greg for our prosperity celebration.
Thank you, Reverend Sharon. And thank you to each of you who have so generously supported this ministry during this extraordinary time. We are very grateful for all the support this community has received from all the members of this community, both online and through the mail. We are a tithing congregation, and it is with great joy that we share a portion of our tithes with our congregants' choice for the second quarter, the Greater Lansing Food Bank. They have done such an extraordinary job responding to huge demands during this pandemic. We thank them for their selfless work, and now that our gift will go forth to do great things. And even as we give thanks for the gifts that have blessed our Unity community, let us take a moment to celebrate the gifts that have blessed our lives personally. Sometimes we can't thank someone directly. Many times we can. So let us take a moment to consider the many blessings we have received as we bless these gifts together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I praise, give thanks, and am glad. And now, let us join together in our closing song, I Choose Love.
You want to come on up and we will space, safely space. And you're welcome to space at home with us. It all comes back to you, right?
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one.
One tie that binds us.
That can't be undone. I choose love. Peace on the planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of.